What is up, guys? My name is Sid Carrigan, and we are back on F1 24 Driver Career. This is Season 1, Episode number 14 for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Coming up. So we are heading into Brazil, coming off a podium at my home race around Austin. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet before you see this episode. Verstappen was able to win the sprint, but both Red Bulls struggled for pace in the main race, and Alonso was able to pick up his first win of the season and get himself back into title contention. Take a look at any upgrades we can afford with a little under 500 resource points. The only thing we can afford is a minor ERS upgrade, and that'll be on in time for Qatar. Let's move on to the specialist goals and get those set up. And after I set up these goals, I think I'm going to make Mr. B, the power unit consultant, the primary specialist, as he is lagging behind the other specialists, including the other level 1 specialists. I need to try to get the other consultants caught up to wind tunnel and manufacturing, who are both on level 3 already. I'm not sure how the pace will be around Brazil. It's not one of my better circuits, but we should be very capable of points if I can get the setup in a good window. We're still in a bit of no man's land on the development chart. We're still the 6th best team, but Alpine has been closing in over the last several races, and Ferrari has taken over the top spot, on paper at least, and Alonso is closed within 35 points of Verstappen for the Drivers' Championship. He's the only one, realistically, who still has a chance of stopping Verstappen, but with only 3 races and 2 sprint races remaining, it's a large points gap to overcome. We only have one possible durability upgrade heading into Brazil.
Okay, mate, I'm pleased to say that our new parts have come through without any issue, so they'll be on the car, ready for the next race weekend.
So Hulkenberg's control electronics upgrade is successful. Let's head to sprint qualifying.
It's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Checks complete. Everyone be aware, we've got a car leaving the garage.
On the medium tires for SQ1 into the Senna S. Let's see what kind of pace we have around Brazil. I waited until the end of SQ1 to go out. I did leave myself enough time to back out of the lap and go again as we open the DRS down the Reta Aposta. Now through turn 4 and 5. Can afford to use a lot of battery in Sector 1, as we will not be using much through the more twisty infield section of the track. As we go through the very tricky horseshoe, I am using a rather high downforce setup for the sprint, as I try to get a good exit out of turn 9 and into the best named corner on the track, the Duck's Bill, and towards turn 11, where it's very tricky to get the power fully down, and into the most important corner on the track, Brazil-Sao, where you need a good exit to carry all the speed up the hill. Now we'll find out what kind of pace we have. It's good enough for second for the moment. And that's good enough to see us through in 4th, with Alonso topping the session. Our teammate made it through in 12th. Ocon, Tsunoda, Bottas, Sargent, and Carlos Sainz are eliminated.
Standing by.
So the biggest surprise of SQ1 was Carlos Sainz being eliminated in last. Unless he was planning on taking engine penalties or something along those lines. That's incredibly surprising, as Ferrari have been by far the strongest team over the last several races, ever since they brought the big upgrade package to the Belgian Grand Prix. So with Sainz going out early, that opens up a potential spot for another driver to get into SQ3, something I'm struggling a bit with myself at the moment, as I've been unable to put together a lap. My first lap, I got impeded, and this lap has been a bit lackluster so far, as I'm struggling a little bit to find a braking point through Brazil-Sao. dumping the battery, opening the DRS to the line. This is the only lap we're gonna get, as this is my second lap on these tires. It's only good enough for 7th. So that lap was only good enough for 11th, with Gasly just knocking us out. Norris tops the session, and our teammates also out in 13th. So it's gonna take a bit of a recovery drive to get points. Let's head to the sprint.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Hamilton, Stroll, Gasly, Haas, Albon, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Joe, Ocon, Tsunoda, Bottas, Sargent, and Carlos Sainz will start from the back of the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Okay, mate, Mark here. Quick radio check, radio check. Right, we're hoping for another strong podium this weekend, so go get out there and get us a result.
So it looks like everybody is using the soft tire for the sprint. It's a bit of a risk that the soft tire will last 12 laps, but we're all in the same boat, as no one has decided to use the mediums. I think we all decided it was probably better to save the mediums for the race.
Okay, so let's go through all the gears if you can. We need to make sure the engagement is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes. We need to keep the engine cool though, so don't go too high with the revs. Okay, incredible parking there, nice one. That's going to give you the edge if you can get good launch as the race starts.
And the 5 red lights. The Brazilian sprint is underway. We get a little bit of wheel spin off the start. We tuck in behind Gasly. We're going to take the outside line through the Senna S. We got boxed in. So we're going to have to tuck in behind the Alpine for now. Using some battery down the Red Pasta. Tucking into the Alpine slipstream. We're going to dive up the inside into turn 4. And improve up into 10th. Taking advantage of Gasly turning his battery off.
Right, let's focus now for the rest of the race.
Down the end of that straight. As I have a thought about attacking Stroll into turn 8, but we're a little bit too far back. As I look to stay right on the back of Stroll. Into turn 10, we make a big dive up the inside. And we catch him unawares and improve up into 9th. So we're able to improve 2 positions on the first lap. And close in just behind Perez, our rival, for the points. But as we head up the hill towards the start-finish straight, Stroll is going to use some battery. He's not ready to give up that position yet.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS.
We're able to maintain 9th through the Senna S and just hold on to the DRS of Perez. And 1 lap later, we're just barely managing to cling on to the DRS of the Red Bull as we have a little bit of a wobble through the Senna S.
Okay, expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
And that would indicate problems to come, as even with DRS, Stroll was able to catch us very quickly down the straight, and I am struggling to stay within a second of Perez. And at the front, Verstappen trying to chase down Leclerc for the lead. Side by side down the hill through the Senna S. Verstappen with the nose ahead through turn 3. And the Red Bull has taken over the lead of the race. And behind that battle, having lost a position to Stroll down the start-finish straight, we're under attack from Gasly in the Alpine. And we are sliding all over the track. And we've managed to hold off Gasly for now. But as we head through the double right-handers of turn 6 and 7, we have a big snap of oversteer into turn 8, and then lock the tires on entry. And from this lap on, our tires are pretty much overheated the rest of the sprint, as I've lost the DRS on Stroll, leaving me vulnerable to Gasly down the Red Pasta. We're gonna dive back up the inside of turn 4 and manage to hold on to 10th for the moment. As we head down the start-finish straight, Ocon's gonna use the DRS to make a run on us. Gasly in the second Alpine's gonna try to get through as well. We're able to fend off Gasly. Ocon is through. An opportunistic Sainz slips past Gasly. And a lap later, Sainz is trying to get past us as well. We're going to go side by side in the Senna S. And Ocon brake checks us at the top of the hill, giving us minor wing damage and running us wide out onto the curb. And this sprint race is going downhill very quickly as we are too slow in a straight line. And our tires are overheating, and we have a big snap-on exit at turn 11, and that lets Gasly and Sainz come through. I am trying everything, but I can't get the temps down in these tires.
We're expecting rain in about 10 to 15 minutes.
And on lap 8, Alonso in damage control mode is trying to take third from Norris and the McLaren as they go side by side down the Senna S. If Alonso can get through, he would only lose 2 points to Verstappen as it stands right now, keeping his tenuous hopes for a third championship alive. As they go side by side through turn 4, and the Aston Martin is finally able to move past Norris for third. More good news for Alonso at the front of the field as Leclerc is challenging Verstappen for the lead of the race. And Verstappen locks up and goes deep into turn 1, easily handing Leclerc the lead. Verstappen rejoins rather unsafely just ahead of Alonso, as Alonso will have the DRS down the Retro Pasta. Verstappen tries to go defensive, but Alonso manages to sneak up the inside. As they go side by side through turn 4, Verstappen manages to keep side by side through turn 5, but runs a little bit wide, and Alonso takes over second. And with 2 laps still to go, all the rear sliding on my car has pushed my rear tire wear to over 40%, as the rear right is still overheating. As we come under pressure from our teammate and Alex Albon in the Williams, Hülkenberg manages to get through, and we're suffering a bit of understeer with that broken front wing. As our plummet down the field continues, we're able to hold off Albon for now. Heading on to the final lap, Verstappen's trying to retake second from Alonso as they go side by side through the Senna S. And Verstappen manages to get back ahead. That point could be critical in the Drivers' Championship. Depending on how things pan out in the race tomorrow, Alonso will have one more chance on Verstappen out of Brazil-Sao up the hill as we climb the hill towards turn 12, having lost a position to Albon down the DRS straight. We have a big snap of oversteer out of Brazil-Sao, and that's going to give Bottas and the Kick Sauber a run on us to the line. We are completely out of battery as we head up the hill. We go defensive, and Bottas is the cherry on top of a crap sundae.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in
That was that sprint race. Leclerc grabs the win. Verstappen does manage to gain 1 point on Alonso, taking over second place on the final lap. Teammate managed to finish 14th, and we plummeted all the way down to 17th. And in the standings, Verstappen takes a 36-point lead into the race tomorrow. I'm managing to cling on to a 7-point lead in the rivalry over Perez. McLaren extend their lead on us in the Constructors to 24. Let's head to qualifying.
Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Okay, when you're ready, let's go.
So our first lap in Q1 on the softs. I made some adjustments to the setup going into qualifying in the race tomorrow. I increased the tire pressures to maximum. They were only 2 clicks under maximum pressure for the sprint, but I suppose every little bit helps in the overheating, as I have a bit of a slide through turn 4. And no matter what I do with the setup on this car, it just doesn't feel planted around this track. I also softened the suspension a little bit to help with the overheating. And I also lowered the front and rear wing several clicks to help with straight line speed, with an eye towards the race tomorrow, knowing it might cost us a little bit here in qualifying. Just trying some different things around Interlagos. as that sprint race was a bit of a confidence killer. Watching cars fly past us on the straights and being too slow in the corners with the tires overheating was just painful. To the line, and that's good enough for third for the moment. And that was enough to see us through in 14th, with Leclerc topping the session and our teammate just ahead of us in 12th. We're just struggling for pace around here, as Alonso is out in 20th. That's shocking. So a huge development in the fight for the Drivers' Championship, as Alonso is eliminated in dead last after he showed excellent pace around here in the sprint and in sprint qualifying. How is he out in last? As we head through turn 4, nearly 3/10 up on our first lap. Can we do in qualifying what we couldn't do in sprint qualifying and make it into Q3 as we go into one of my favorite overtaking spots, turn 8. And now through the long turn 9, up the hill to the duckbill, half a second up as we head up the hill towards turn 12, where we need a good exit. Little slow getting on the power and running low on battery as we head towards the line. And that's only good enough for 7th. And that's definitely not good enough to see us through, as we are out in 15th. And the struggle around Brazil continues. No rain in the forecast, unfortunately. I was hoping for something to change it up, as we've been so far off the pace. And I'm going to take all new components, since we're already down the field anyway. That way we'll have all new parts for this race and the final 2 races and sprint of the season. Especially important for the gearbox, as we've lost 2 of those to failures, most recently at Monza. Let's head to the grid.
Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. 2 very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junção into one of the 2 DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Gasly, Stroll, Albon, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Sainz, Perez, Hülkenberg, Haas, Ricciardo, Bottas, Joe, Sargent, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
So as I start the formation lap, I've decided to go with the medium-hard strategy, staying away from the softs in the race, after our issues in the sprint with overheating the softs. Also taking a bit of fuel out.
Okay, radar is clear, weather is looking good for now.
A lap and a half of spare fuel should be fine for the race.
Okay, incredible parking there, nice one. That's going to give you the edge if you can get a good launch.
And the 5 red lights. And the Brazilian Grand Prix is underway. Get a little bit of wheel spin off the start. And Ricciardo got a monster start on his softs, rocketing up into 14th as we are side by side with our teammate, nearly running into the back of Ricciardo as everyone concertinaed up through the first chicane. And Perez just manages to stay ahead of Ricciardo as we use a lot of battery down the Retta Pasta and make a late move up the inside of the V-carb of Ricardo and improve up into 14th, just behind the second Red Bull of Perez. As we go into the horseshoe, sticking close behind Perez, we make a move up the inside of Perez and Albon into the heavy braking zone of turn 8, and we have made our way up into 12th and close in on the rear of the second V-carb of Yuki Tsunoda. And a lap later, unlike the sprint, we've actually managed to stick close to the car ahead. This time it's Tsunoda in the V-carb. As we close into the back of Tsunoda, we make a big dive up into turn 8, our favorite overtaking spot on the circuit so far this weekend. And we find ourselves
Brilliant, nice move, keep going.
in 11th and closing in on Sainz in the Ferrari.
You're pulling out a second a lap on the car behind, really good stuff.
Definitely finding better race pace on the mediums as we've stuck in the DRS of Sainz.
Yellow flag.
And there's a yellow flag, and what is going on here? We're going to go through even under yellow flag, as there was no safe way for us to slow down.
Red flag. Keep the delta positive, and let's have you straight to the pit lane, please.
And let's take a look at what happened just ahead of us for the red flag. Gasly's engine goes. Nobody wants to go through. We go around to avoid contact, and everybody piles up behind the stricken Alpine.
Deja vu here, but there's a good opportunity to get this start spot on. Come on. Okay, the safety car is out. We need to form up at reduced pace. Keep a close eye on that delta time. Make sure to keep it positive. You've got to give that position back, mate. We're under safety car conditions, and you can't overtake.
Are you kidding me? Sainz and Ocon overtook me under safety car. How did we lose 2 positions? Wow, that sums up this weekend perfectly.
Okay, let's get ready to go racing again. The safety car is in this lap. When the field accelerates, remember, there's no overtaking until the timing line. Safety car in this lap.
So now I gotta nail the restart. Try to get those 2 positions back that were stolen from us. Although I kind of stole them at the red flag, so I'll earn them back. Everybody is on the hards. The strategy's been pretty much taken out of this race as everybody's now going to the end on the hards. As we are now on the restart.
Tyre condition still looking good.
As we make a dive up the inside of Sainz and Ocon into the Senna S with a big slide on the entrance to turn 3. But we are currently up into 7th, trying to chase down the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. Closing up to the back of the McLaren in the turn 6-7 horseshoe. We have a huge slide on the exit of turn 7. This time it was cold tires right after the safety car restart, but I have managed to stick in the DRS of Piastri, and with the lower wings, I'm not getting eaten alive by the car behind, and Mark has given us the goal to overtake the McLaren within the next 5 laps, so he'll have been looking at the numbers, thinking our pace looks good enough to at least challenge the second McLaren, but Piastri ahead is trying to put a car between us, attacking Stroll into turn 4. The Aston Martin is able to hold him off for now. No.
You're pushing too hard. It's causing your gearbox to take increased wear. Just be careful.
That's the 3rd gearbox of the season. It was brand new. We were running all new components. Son of a bitch. That's it. Couldn't have DNF'd out of the sprint when we had no pace. That's the 2nd gearbox failure in 3 races. You've got to be kidding.
We're looking at some imminent gear.
That's going to be a nail in the coffin of 5th place in the Constructors, most likely. Nothing else we could do. Just an exclamation point on the weekend from hell.
And Leclerc to the line, to the checkered flag. It's King Charles today. He wins.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
So Leclerc wins the sprint and the feature race around Brazil, as Ferrari is surging at the end of the season.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
So Ferrari might be able to catch Red Bull in the constructors if Perez continues to struggle the way he has the last several races, with Sainz also finishing on the podium in third. That's a huge 40 points in the race alone. I'm interested to see where Verstappen and Alonso finished the race, as Verstappen gains a net 7 points on Alonso with the sprint plus the race results. Our teammate was unable to finish in the points either, dropping us a further 29 points back of McLaren in the constructors. And I was right. The nails are in the coffin for the battle for fifth. I'm not going to be able to make up that many points on my own to McLaren. And it's Leclerc making a late charge for the Drivers' Championship. He's in second now, only 31 points back, dropping Alonso down to third, 34 points back. And we fall a full 44 points back of McLaren for fifth in the constructors, and I think that's just too much for me to make up running one-legged. As our ratings take a beating for the DNF, it should take a beating for the poor qualifying and poor sprint race. But losing another gearbox was not my fault, as we lose a percentage point of recognition to Hulkenberg, even though he didn't have a weekend to write home about either. We did accomplish all of our specialist goals, so I guess there's one plus in the myriad of crap this weekend was. Very much looking forward to putting this race weekend in the rearview mirror and heading to Qatar and a failed upgrade to top it off. Brilliant. Qatar will be our third sprint weekend in a row as we take a look at our third failed gearbox of the season. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for now. I'll see you next week, hopefully for a better weekend around Qatar. Goodbye.